Good morning, everybody. This is P. Francis Mcnichol, otherwise known as Phil to my friends. And like I said earlier, I was going to do this very fun poem, a reading. And I took my time the last couple of days to do a reading because I wanted to share it to a lot of groups. I belong to over 300 groups. Probably closer to 4. Sometimes it fluctuates, and people make it so I'm not a group member anymore because I post so many works, and it's really irritating when I have a group I go to and I post something and I see right as I'm posting it 70 things awaiting the okay to be posted, however it's worded. And some recently were up to 126. So I know I've done close to 300 poems, if not more, in the last 4 years on Facebook. And probably, even with big projects, we'll occasionally do some and post it on Facebook for friends to read. It's for my practice as well, and it's for people to enjoy. However, my only caveat for that is that when it is done and it's fully polished, even a last change that the public will not see, and I put it in a blood red sea, it will be polished and somewhat different. Therefore, people, I hope, buy the eventual book, A Blood Red Sea. It is phenomenal. I'm past 400 pages officially, and only the truest poetry I love that's close to my heart, that was dead on. It was perfect in my mind. People might not like it. Poetry is subjective. It is what it is on the paper, but even you go through 1,000 people, you could have 1,000 different opinions about that work. Okay, there's specificity, yes, to poetry, and there's I can't say the word, but there's interpretations of what people pull out of that poetry, and it's written down in the literature books, and we learn from it, and we're like, oh, that's what those words meant altogether. Okay, I can see that now. I can piece it together. I can visualize what the author was visualizing, 200, 300 years ago, maybe just 100 years ago, maybe just yesterday. And so A Blood Red Sea is going to get bigger and bigger, and I'm just putting poetry in there. Although the Disappeared Ensemble and Short Story Collection, let me adjust this, Short Story Collection has some poetry in it too. Okay, some of the poetry might be in A Blood Red Sea at the very beginning. I'm not going to sit there and go through with a fine-tooth comb yet and extrapolate is the word I wanted to use earlier, and pull out some stuff that might be redundant. There's no sense in it. It would be a great read no matter what because of all the different poems I have done over the years. And a lot of the hardcore poems I did thinking about being a police officer fresh in my mind, and those negative feelings about a very hostile population that didn't like the police, but they would blame the same police they wouldn't help for the death they have on their doorstep, their son slinging crack all night and what have you. I went into those subjects really, really hardcore, and those rhymes are dead on, invoking, provoking. Okay, they're dead on excellent, and I loved them, along with the chasm poem and what have you, and carnal carnus. Okay, carnal carnus is the one I took the flower, the pink carnation with, and I attached to that when I posted it long ago. I want to say 4 years ago, but I started getting into it when 1883 that series came on. I started to get into doing poetry more and more, and I really loved and enjoy doing that. I hope people that love reading read it and they share it with people that don't like reading so much or are not into it yet or have a niche. But they can look at poetry and short stories and the long game and say, hey, Phil, P. Francis Mcnichol, he was onto something. He spoke from his heart, and he put his money where his mouth was and his pen was. And that's me. That's what I want to do. Am I perfect in everything I try to enunciate and try to portray and say to my friends on a medium like Facebook that is also idolatry to itself? It's a means to communicate and, yes, have some entertainment. And I love providing that entertainment, but I don't need it all day long. And I would like to think more good is going to come out of it with a bigger name, more money, using that money and things for other projects that would bring in great storylines, great inspirational, I want to say series, novels, what have you, maybe short movies, hour and a half long movies that some distributor would love to buy and put it out there, what have you. I want to do documentaries too and show and tell a story factually about how things happen so that we are more enlightened. And I can learn from that too. I can learn from other people doing the same work. I appreciate more people learning how to read more and enjoy all kinds of entertainment through that print medium. That is my ultimate goal when it comes to providing entertainment, quote unquote. With my inspiration in actual real life events and the amount of loss I've incurred, I want to say especially since 2019, and a lot of trauma, I want to say being a police officer also, or being homeless, and losing a lot of good friends. I believe I have a story to tell. I believe I have many stories to tell. Their stories should be told. And that's how I look at it. For entertainment value, we look at Hollywood and they redo the classic literature that becomes a classic movie at its inception and its very beginning. And then they redo it with, I want to say, unholy, unheartfelt, if that's a word, meaning. They have deception in their minds, so the art is not the same. It's with their own depiction, their own influence. I can say yes, with certain degrees, all artists may do something like a cover album. They will do it with their own flair, but they keep the essence of that original product. Hollywood and the movies is famous for ruining our heroes on just about every older movie they redo. Including the Odyssey. I refuse to watch the Odyssey because of Helen Page or Ellen Page, whatever her name was. I disliked her as an actress before. I thought she had some talent. She played in one good movie where she tied up a guy, and you don't know till the end the guy was a rapist. But she was sitting there sadistically torturing him like she has a right to, and she's this goddess of morality when she's just as immoral as that rapist dude tied up and being tortured for the whole length of the movie. It's like, why don't you call the cops? Okay? If you're so sure that something happened, you were witnessing, why don't you call the cops? Well, she acting butch like that is her mentality now, trying to be a man. And it's disgusting. And it's my understanding she's in that movie, but if she is or not, anything she might be in, I won't watch it. But I heard a lot of the different characters of the Odyssey have different races and nationalities and people in it, when, historically speaking, it's not correct. They still have to have the essence of the people there, those original characters. That's how I look at it. Hollywood is shit anyways, because it's ran by the Cyclones, who want to destroy all heroes in the American lexicon, the American mind. In my lifetime too, new heroes that we were raised on, they're no longer. They're all gone. They're not expounded upon. They're not heralded. They're not cheered. Okay? They want other people to be those heroes just because they're all inclusive. That's their virtue. That's not their honor. That's their virtue to replace and supplant a god. Maybe those characters in the original written work and I want to say cinematic portrayal were not perfect either. I get that. Okay, but if it was so loved by the American public, why do you have to change it? Why do you have to make it about race then? Why do you got to make it like, oh, you're being so virtuous to include other races and other people that don't care about our actual history? They don't. They care to brainwash the youth, so the youth always dislikes America. There's no heritage there to defend. Anyways, I love writing poetry, and this poem here was one I really enjoyed to my hearts of hearts. And I want to say I took a nap when I got home, a couple hours nap, because I'm used to overnights now. Okay, so it's like it's hard to sleep during the night, but you get some good sleep when you feel it. I'm like, okay. And then I was like, well, I'll stay up until I go to work, or a few hours before I go to work tonight, Monday night, and I'll sleep then. And so that's what I'm planning on. And so I was like, while I'm catching up to a lot of things with time on my hand, why don't I just get that video over? And I'm like, I want to do that video anyways. It's not like it's a chore. It's fun. I don't read the best. I mess up. My own words I put on the paper, I fully admit I can F up in a heartbeat. Okay, especially when I love tongue twisters and you read it, it's 1,000% dead on, bullseye, perfect. Okay, so I like going into different areas in a poem. I like to come back to a certain theme. I like the different words that I know exist. I like looking up synonyms and know what works. I like having a certain theatrical flair to it, kind of like Shakespearean vernacular. I like Old English, incorporating a little of both, bringing back older words. Might not be Old English, they're just not used anymore. And a lot of people would be like bonne. Well, the word bonne, B-O-N-N-E. Okay, for instance, we know it from bon ami. Okay, good love, I think is what it means. But it was a name, and it still exists today. It was an older cleaning product, like a Brillo pad. It was competition with Brillo to clean your pots and pans. So it was bon ami. Bon ami also, I believe it was bon ami also. You can correct me on that. But it was similar to that, a French combination of words that was competing with Brillo. The Brillo pads, you know, when you scour your pans. They had other cleaning products too, and I remember them. This is just off the top of my head, and you can see them in some hardware stores. I believe you can. Some of their cleaning products, I believe you still can. They might be at cleanitsupply.com too, because I've seen it more recently in the last 10 years. But it's kind of like an older fading business that was competing with Brillo pads. And that's good, because if you have a competitor there, they will work together to see who can undercut by prices and bringing the prices all the way down as low as possible. When you have that choice, you have a better product. They want to make a better product for less money, or a better product that's affordable. That's how I want to rephrase that. And it might last longer, so people want to buy that product. Then Brillo pad tries to get better, and then they're like, okay, we're at a stalemate here. I need to sell quantity, so I'm going to lower the prices again. And then Brillo pad is like, okay, I got to lower the prices too. And that's how that's how anybody, okay, thrives, having those kinds of deals at the marketplace. And the marketplace of ideas, how something sells. They sell best and cheapest when there's competition. So anyways, I took about 20 minutes to type up "It Never Came Dear," and I'm going to do the reading right now. "It Never Came Dear" by P. Francis Mcnichol. A twister spun in the sun, up she blew and flew away. Memories of show and tell, we would dryly try to play. Within the skirt of a priggish flirt, Jules held to herself. In wishing wells of spells, a notch on her vestal shelf. Never walked her path before, the math her all alone. As she walked so spry, dandies bandied in cyclones. Her smile in a silver clasp, nestled between an icy breast, ambushed in a glance, lancing nails, shushed, a jest. No poor boors or hewer wooers in her palace tower, Missives telling a pensive story of his signatory dower. Bonnets above a bust, plumage not a sonnet's need, where seed languishes, whisht, love no part of creed. Words are merely jested snides, angels to step aside. Water she walks upon, but little is found bonne inside. What is the key to a liar's heart in a sapphire dream? As she bathes within swathes of diamond creams, how one may broach so blady lady of no approach, as her bosh visage fawns posh mirage, not of reproach. Besoughten wings expand at a bland misgotten rendezvous, feigning smiles and scheming guile, suitors in a queue. She purrs an imaginary fur, guests praising posture divine, jewelry sparkling on a pale nape, great nails hailed tines. Scratching her inner loin, she thatching her vacant groin. Lorn gardens hoed, no bow to occupy, or moon glow join. As years in chastity pass, no veracity breaks through her bold soul, or heart of gold, a sweet lie told, little true. The days grow long as years farrow on, time a worthy foe. As chinked skin shades crinked grins, a fair lady pro. Enticed hopes, aspirations of a paradise she never found. Fate a thief of a feast coffer, flesh offered by the pound. The end. It Never Came Dear was inspired by, I want to say, the man's heart, not necessarily wrong, but can you imagine? I think every boy has imagined themselves in this situation. Not necessarily predicament, but there's a beautiful lady, there's a beautiful girl growing up, and many men fawn over her, and that boy thinks she's very pretty, and she's maybe out of his league, maybe not. And she holds out, testing all the men that want to court her. Okay? And she goes out and she dates. She might even get married to one or two of them in her lifetime. And it never works out. It never works out because of vanity and her assumption that thinking about the future, there's always something better she's holding herself out for. With some of that vanity, no children come along, no family come along. Or maybe a small family does come along, and she says to herself, is this all there is to life? Where most men would say, family is it. Family is the great nugget of gold we all search for to raise a family from scratch. And not all women are like that, of course. But that little boy remembers a lot of girls like that, always passing them over. You saying, oh, we're just friends. Okay? Not necessarily being mean about it either. And they have a right to choose who they want to date, who they want to love, who they want to marry, of course. But there's always that one lady that some vanity is involved. Some, I want to say, made-up picture that is imprinted in her mind from maybe outside sources, maybe her mother, maybe other sisters, maybe other females. Oh, no, he's not good enough for you. You ought to look for that guy. Wouldn't he be a catch? And then that comes to fruition. And that lady is together with him, and it's not enough. It's not enough. He's not rich enough. He might be too honest. He might be too righteous. Okay? And he might be a pauper when he's righteous. And she turns a blind eye to him. Every boy has had that happen to them in their life, one way or another, or witnessed it from afar, or they weren't really hurt by it. They take it as they come. They've had other relationships. And so that's the feeling I was inspired by with It Never Came Dear when I wrote it. And I'm going to go over some of the mechanics about it with actual word usage. I hope people can learn different words and bring old vernacular back. Okay, if I can bring some of it back, great. I hope people understand the context. And they're like, I think I get that word. Look it up. Find its entomology, excuse me. And have fun with that word. And then they can use it again in the future, poetically or Shakespearean-like. And enjoy it. And that's the beauty of the English language. We can incorporate French words like bonne, B-O-N-N-E, which means, I believe, very good. Very good. So like bon ami, I remember as late or early, depending on how you look at it, like 2009, 2010, seeing the bon ami, and I was like, where do I know that from? Okay. And I saw like an old ad for it somehow, and I was like, oh, I know that. We were raised with Brillo pad, but Bon Ami was a cleaning detergent, some sort. And they had the wiry pads too. So I want to go over some words. A twister spun in the sun. I'm using, she's flighty. She's on her way searching for other men. She ain't going to sit there and speak to you. Up, she blew and flew away. Memories of show and tell. That's the boy wanting to have fun with her and learn what it means to show and tell. We would dryly try to play. Within a skirt, a priggish flirt, priggish, got it. I'm brain farting here. Let's go to the next words. Jules held to herself. That's kind of self-explanatory and metaphorical for her not wanting to enjoy the intimacy with a man and exchange that. Wishing wells of spells, a notch on her vestal shelf. The woman liking these check marks with different men and putting it like a notch in her steak, so to speak. As she walked so spry, dandies, the men, bandied, they bandied for her in cyclones. They're up and away in that same cyclone. And they're not going to get anywhere with her because she is the cyclone. She is the twister. She is the catch that will never be caught. I think of some things, her beauty, her smile and a silver clasp, nestled between an icy breast, ambushed in a glance, lancing nails, shushed. A jest, meaning be quiet. No poor boors. Boors, I like that word. Boors, some people might make it into a two-syllable word when they're enunciating. I wasn't trying to too much. But then the same R sound with or hewer and wooers, I wanted that kind of more sharp vowel, sharp U vowel sound, like ooh. In her palace tower, I wanted to give inference to her living the good life being raised. Okay? A lot of us people, even girls, don't get me wrong, but a lot of women were raised very good instead of their family, in the family stead, because they were, the apple of their dad's eye. Rightly so, to certain degrees. But is it pompous? Is it arrogant? Is it vain? We can get into all that psychology, but I wanted to use palace tower because where she lives, no one can go. No one can visit. Missives, I researched that word, and I didn't know it was actual documentation and letters between people, like correspondence between the oligarchs, or maybe a fair maiden and her concubine of fair ladies that cared for her and prepare her for engagements and stuff. Missives, I did not know that myself because I hardly ever used the word, but that's what it is. It's like letters, not love letters, but information sent in letters, like something a pigeon would carry to somebody else. Telling a pensive story of his signatory dower. Didn't look far to see much of a rhyme for story. I wanted to get away from the missives and IVE sound, IV sound. It's just not many to choose from after a while. And signatory and story hit it, and I like that a lot. Dower, meaning his accumulated wealth. If he dies, the dowry is going to her, and she's going to be exclusively in charge of that. Bonnets above a bust. I wanted to show an image. Plumage. A lady's well-endowed front. Is plumage enough when so beautiful? Not a sonnet's need, meaning you don't have to incorporate that into such poetic verse and live your life so much for that beauty that it means the world to you. When you want that beauty too, and at the same time you can walk away from it. The sonnets don't need all that beauty for everything written. Where seed languishes, meaning the man is not going to get to raise children or have children. Whisht is an old-fashioned word. I hope comes back. It's exclamation. It's like, I said, wished love no part of creed, meaning declared love is no part of her vocabulary or creed. Words are merely jested, snides. I go back to some repetition there. with the jest, snides, metaphorically, snides is like when you're sneering at someone. I wanted to say it as a noun where it's totally verb, I believe. Angels, to step aside. I'm using the IDE rhyme. I like those softer sounding vowel sounds. Water she walks upon, giving an inference to acting like she's holier than thou, holier than Jesus. But little was found bonne inside. I looked up the word and I wanted to explore on, the word on, like on something, and as many different words that rhyme with that, especially in the 2-syllable range, to see what would fit and what you could use, in the future, put it in your arsenal. And so I was like, let's go to these words that are not italicized, used more often, not highlighted. I go down in there, I saw bonne, B-O-N, and I was like, I know that word. It's good something. It's excellent or something like that, like excellent love. And I rethought that. I was like, excellent love, bonne, it has to be something good. I know it's something good. And I saw bonne beside it. And it was a French word. And it is a French word. Okay. So incorporating that in, I'm like thinking, people have had to hear the word before, and a similar word for B-O-N also, because that's out there, but not as much B-O-N-N-E. So I wanted to bring that in and keep it simple like that, without much, I want to say more French influence, and bring it in. Bring it in, because every word like that is welcome. Especially when I have a good idea what I'm looking for that rhyme scheme. And I am in there, not that I can speak a lot of French, but I know that they're B-O-N, it clicked. And I was like, I know that word. It's like good love, something to that effect. But with poetry, there's also inference you can leave if it's not 100%. You have to be careful, and you don't go too far and speak too cryptically, if that makes sense. Okay, let's go down. So that's one of the words priggish. Oh my God, it doesn't mean a bad thing. In the context, it was really, really like a kind of superior thing. I might be wrong, so I'll just shut up. I'll look it up after this video. It was the word I wanted at the time. I know that. Merely jested, snides, angels, to step aside. I went with the, okay, let's go down. The soft IDE sound. I like that sound too. Ide, like inside or aside. Formaldehyde, so to speak. Run and hide. What is the key to a liar's heart in a sapphire dream? Meaning, what makes her tick when she lies about things or she misrepresents, and you're dreaming of her, and now it's kind of a darker way. It's not really luminescent. As she bathes within swathes is a real word. I hope comes back more into vogue. It's like the plural of swath. Like he had a swath and bushel of twigs he started a fire with. He had a swath of kindle to start a fire with. Meaning he had like a bundle of something, or he had enough that he could make a broom out of it. He had a swath of twigs to make a broom. There's a couple different contexts for swath, so be careful how you use it. But swathes is the plural of that also. And I'm like, bingo. How many rhymes can you find that rhymes with bathes? If you have a good search engine and a good reservoir you go to, more power to you, like the Webster Dictionary, online dictionary. And I haven't found something so good that would just have a list of everything. like all adjectives for your poetic, repertoire. And if it's A to Z and it's all of the adjectives and all of the verbs, you're going to be there a while until you really look at the writing of it, what it really means. Can it be incorporated where more people understand it? Can it be incorporated where it rhymes with other words? Is it really there, or you want to use some poetic leniency with it? Those are things you have to take into account. A lesser rhyme scheme that I don't use often is the ouch sound, like roach or coach. Approach, reproach, I use in a couplet, how one may broach. So blady lady of no approach. As her bosh, visage fawns posh mirage, not of reproach. She can't be corrected. Basically what I'm inferring. She can't be approached unless you got, fat pockets. In more ways than one, I guess. But bosh, look it up. Posh, mirage means a lot of money, and mirage is paying the gate fee to get in to see her, so to speak, poetically speaking. Use besotten, wings expand. Kind of didn't have much to do with wings. I want to say more of an adjective about the wings, expand. At a bland, misgotten rendezvous, feigning smiles of scanning guile, suitors in a queue. Scanning, scanning is the verb. Guile is usually looked at more or less of negative or deception. Suitors in a queue. Feigning smiles, so she's being deceptive and acting in a scanning guile. Scanning, I want to say, is making a quagmire, like a big knot of something or a big spool of something where it's a quagmire and pile, is the inference I wanted to leave, because I like the word skein. That's a new word I've used twice before, but using skeining is a root of, or a derivative of that. So it's a word I want to use more often, not every time, not to be redundantly repetitive, but it has its uses for showing a quagmire and a knot, a pile of knots that you can't undo. You just have to burn in place and find the ends on the sides to use the rest of the yarn, so to speak. Okay, this is where I take some poetic leniency with the purrs word. I never gave it much thought. It's another word that you say someone purrs, like a cat purrs. I was thinking purrs with, I want to say present tense and transitive, I believe it is. With the S on it, you'd use two R's. But purr, I was like, no, that's one R, right? That's one R. And so I looked at it, and I knew it was wrong technically. But what I read online was most people write it wrong. Okay? So my thinking is, and it's not for me to lead the charge for this one word. I'm not saying that. But the purr word, purrs, an imaginary fur, I think I put one R in it. One R in it, she purrs. And I was thinking, okay, well, I'll be wrong on that because there's not a continuation or a reason for that R to continue. Like a ribidici or, so many, like, what are merry, like on your merry way. There's places for two R's, and so I was like, I'm not changing it. I'm not changing it. If you want to call it poetic license, and someone who has some knowledge of the way a word is supposed to sound because of one or two letters together that are identical per, if you're doing it kind of dialectal and trying to make it like visual, show the dog or the cat is purring. I get it, showing multiple R's. So if you show 3 R's, are you wrong? Because you're doing something artistically? Well, I was kind of like, eh. So that was that. Lauren is like a legend. Lauren Gardens hoed, meaning she's fine, she's beautiful, and no beau, no man to occupy. I go scratching her inner loin, she thatching her vacant groin, is the first line of that couplet. And I'm happy for that, because I want people to think we're not anything special. I didn't want to go into the gutter too much, but she has needs too, and she's not getting them filled with the current belief system that there's something always better out there than this Joe or Don, I want to say John Doe this week, and next week it's Jim and Harriet. Who knows? And she's like never satisfied because she always thinks in the future there is something better. A Prince Charming that's going to, take her off her feet and pick her up and carry her off into the sunset. It's like, it never came, dear. Her bold soul, or heart of gold, a sweet lie told, little true. Okay, this is the second line of the couplet. But I like this line because I put in a few rhymes, and it landed with through from the first line of the couplet. So bold soul, meaning she's brave enough to rebuke men often and break their hearts, or heart of gold, which she does not have, a sweet lie told, correct, little true, correct. Okay, so as years and chastity pass, no veracity breaks through. The strength of the men can't break through who want to take her hand in marriage and nurture her heart and say, I'm the one for you. They can't break through. The veracity, the strength of them can't break through. To me, that is inference, but it's also right there, I want to say, in a good way, in our face. Written that way. Scratching her inner loin, she thatching her vacant groin. Lawn gardens hoed, no bow to occupy, or moon glow join. Meaning that she's not going to make love under the moonlight. Okay, so I go to the next rhyme. As years in chastity pass, no veracity breaks through. The days grow long as years farrow on. Time where did I go here? As the years in chastity pass, no veracity breaks through. Her bold soul, or heart of gold, a sweet lie told, yes, little of it true. I said little true. Okay, which is poetically perfect to me. It sounds good, and it rhymes with through. The next lines are: the days grow long as the years farrow on. Time a worthy foe. Time is a worthy foe against all of us. Okay, and you don't want people to fail in their older life and become sick and pass on because they made bad life choices, physically or personally. That's evil to think like that, but I think a lot of us guys, and some women too, think of that, that male chauvinist jock with the Letterman jacket and all the women hanging around him. Or maybe his one and only love, that they were too prim and proper to deal with other people. And you hope that they fail. And in 20 years you see him, you look good, but that jock is fat. He's uneducated. He doesn't have a good job. He's almost living in squalor. He's not happy with the family and wife he has. blah, 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 blah. Okay, so the days grow long as the years farrow on. Farrow is giving birth to. Okay, so poetically, I like using that word. Grow. Grow always has a good sound to it. That O sound, that soft O sound. Farrow on. So, and foe at the end. Time a worthy foe. So the days grow long as the years farrow on. Time a worthy foe. And then I wanted to just be kind of blunt. Remember I said in other videos that poets need to stay away from the hard T sounds, the hard D sounds. There's other hard sounds too. Chinked is a hard sound. Crinked. That whole INKED, like inked. You know, a lot of people use that word nowadays for tattoos. I'm getting inked. And what have you. It's kind of in vogue. I get it. But other words related to it, to rhyme, have you really found that many? Look them up. There's not many there. And you can find some words that are colloquially used and they're not really expounded upon in any dictionary. Like crinked, the word crinked. Okay? It's like crinkled, but shortened. And it has been used before poetically. So fascinating. It could be in vogue if we use it more often. They say, oh, it's an actual word. It is a real word. It was used in actual literature that was printed, so you can't get rid of it. Okay? I'm not shoplifting or plagiarizing that word. Okay? You can shorten, hyphenate, and do all this stuff that really confuses the hell out of readers, too. You don't want to do that. Chinked, like chink in your armor. So it was dented. The armor was dented. This lady, chinked skin, wrinkles. So I went that sharp kind of more abrupt sound with those two words. And skin and grins, I wanted to rhyme and keep it simple, stupid. So I said, as chinked skin shades crinked grins, a fair lady pro. Another French word, pro. So that is spelled P-R-E-U-X. And it basically means she's gallant. She has some strength to her. She shouldn't be beaten up like a witch, tied to the stake and burned alive because you just don't like her. You just don't, you think she's of a different world. She's untouchable. She's vain. She thinks too highly of herself. She's just as human as we all are. And maybe she'll change and she'll go back to that young boy who's now an old man, her equal, and treat him like an equal and say, hey, how you doing? Not mean, jelly bean. Enticed hopes, aspirations of paradise she never found. Self-explanatory. I didn't really want to get into tongue twister rhyme, within a line, within a couplet, within 2 lines of a couplet. I wanted to keep it simple and kind of spell it out. Okay, this last couplet: enticed hopes, aspirations of a paradise she never found. She didn't find her paradise. It happens. We have dreams and we don't reach them sometimes. Sometimes the journey is just fun trying over and over again. Fate, a thief, of a thief's coffer, flesh offered by the pound. Okay, in this closing, I wanted it to be very poetic. And a thief, dumb, I take as the actual noun of a place. Okay? And a thief I have always taken and heard used as the person in a fiefdom. Okay? When I researched this word for about 2 hours, nothing I found had to do with a person. The person inside of a fiefdom is considered a vassal And that is not how I was raised to use it. That's not what I have heard other people use. So with some of that poetic, I want to say artistry and leniency, I said fate a thief of a thief's coffer, and I can be right for it being land and people interpreting it that way. Land, and the vassals are all under it. All those other vassals that went to this queen to basically betroth them, or whatever the saying is, bequeathed to them gifts and wanted to take their hands in courting romance. You can call them vassals, okay? I didn't want to go vassals and go into the weeds too much in English literature. I wanted a little bit of everything, okay? And so when I'm thinking vassal, okay, they're using that, looking up the definition of fief and fiefdom. I'm like, there's not much difference. A fief is considered a fiefdom, and some of the interpolations or interpretations, extrapolations, were that the fief is all the property inside that fiefdom that might be owned by a lord, and the vassals manage it. And I'm like, the fiefs manage the fiefdom. That was my thinking, okay? So I was like, I'm not going to change it. It works. Fief's coffer, let's say the land with all the money and everything this lady, queen, would love to have. Flesh offered by the pound. A simple saying, she's robbed of her beauty now. She's aging, and flesh offered by the pound. It works, you know. To sell her soul to have all that in a fiefdom, and she's basically the queen or the princess who marries the prince, okay? She's basically going to sell her soul. So I wanted to close it out simply like that. I didn't want to keep on going on and on like Phil Mcnichol, P. Francis Mcnichol, Phil can do in a long story poem that are 50 entries and 50 stanzas. I love that because I love the words, and I'll use some of the words again, of course, but in different ways, in different contexts, in different parts of sentences, and it will make sense. That's just part of the English language. Will I be redundant about the subject matter? Not necessarily. Not necessarily. Maybe I want to say the subject matter has many different points of views, or some of it is let out a little at a time. Some is more hard-hitting. I love a subject matter where I keep on saying the same thing to certain degrees, but I'll do it in a different artistic way to prove that point finally, or to hit that mark. That's part of the philosophy of why we write. But I like the last word a lot. Fate of fate a thief, meaning fate and time steals from all of us. Of a thief's coffer. Can you, and I don't mean to sound morbid, but I know morbid things, being an ex-police officer and seeing morbid things. But can you imagine you just landed the love of your life, you walk outside and a truck hits you. It comes off the road, over the curb, hits a few cars, hits you, and then you're no more. That's fate. That's a cruel fate, and that's how life is sometimes. So we talk metaphorically about fate, and most of the time, poetically speaking, fate is what it is. It could be cruel as shit. It's not talking about good fate. Not many. Maybe a lot of stuff in biblical references. I don't know. Don't think so. Fate basically is things we all have to deal with in life and adjust to. So there is some psychology and philosophy in here. Was there any other words? Bosh. Not going over swathes. I went over with swath. Diamond creams. I wanted to give some wicked cool imagery there. Can you imagine, putting cream on you or bathing in it and it's sparkling at the same time, and when you wash it off, you're so clean. kind of like the Silvadane, you know, ointment stuff that helps replenish skin. Really a miracle for burn victims. Whisht, old word, it's like a declaration. Bandied, it's not hardly used anymore. So there's a little bit of the old in here. There's a little bit of the modern in here. There's a little bit of the everyday in here. So I love the word pro. Gallant. The lady is still gallant. And we all have it coming, you know. So I wasn't trying to be, you know, with a baseball bat, you know, beating up any one person or anything like that. It's just how the man has seen it, you know, all his life. And really enjoyed writing this. So I did some other poems. I didn't put them on here on Facebook. I had some good compliments for recent work. It might have been It Never Came Dear. And I just want to say that I did some quick poetry and kind of lovey-dovey stuff. And I enjoyed doing that. It only took me a couple minutes. And it's like, they gave some really great comments. And I hit the translation. It's like the Latinos and Latinas give me more compliments when they do their translation and they see what it says. And I'm so happy for them because the words do make poetic sense. So the meanings are there the way the author wants. And I'm happy for that. But they chime in. A lot of American poetry sites or groups, they don't offer much. They don't offer much critique. And as long as they don't attack me too personally, they can say, well, this kind of sucked. This needs work here. And I'd probably agree with them and just explain on my behalf what my thought processes were. Did I really misspell a word that bad? I'll go back to a poem over and over and over again. And because of the different cues, I miss it. I miss it. I make no bones about it. It's shorter cues most of the time. On Facebook, I see it more. And then, heaven forbid, if we read, everybody does this to certain degrees. They read, and their mind is filling in the gaps, but it's not what's actually written. All the other words related to it lead to a word that the mind didn't pick up on, and it's wrong. And it's on paper wrong, and it's right in the mind, or the mind is assuming it's right when it's actually wrong. Pretty interesting psychology there, you know, and how the brain works, how we read. We hear something over and over again, we fill in the blanks, and it's written wrong. It's like, oh shit, yeah, sorry, let me correct this at work, you know. It happens. So anyways, guys, that was my reading of It Never Came Dear, and I thank you for your time. Please share this video around if you're into reading and writing. I hope it helps, and you're not alone out there starting out as a new writer. You can be a seasoned writer, and I hope it helps, and I welcome critiques too. Just let's not try to be insulting to the individual author. Okay, that's where I have a problem. I'll get defensive, and I will cuss somebody out in a heartbeat. So that's there. Thank you, guys. Please have a pleasant week ahead. Be safe out there. Also, I haven't said this in a while because I haven't done a gun review in a while. Protect yourself, protect your family, protect your community, protect your state, and protect your God-great United States. It's worth protecting. I really appreciate it. Have a good day.